Hi everyone. So in this video, we're going to be covering sending out and creating emails and newsletters in DHub. So our first step is going to be, we're going to open up whatever browser of choice. I've got it in my shortcuts, but you're going to navigate to DHub where you initially joined. And we're just going to go ahead and sign in. Now, once we sign in, we arrive at the homepage of DHub. We're going to navigate to Kellstadt Business Analytics Organization. Once we click on that and head there, we will see a dashboard like this pop up where we have members, emails, settings, surveys, etc. Since we're going to be covering emails today, we're going to go ahead and click this little box, emails. Don't worry if your tabs are not organized in the same order. You can always go and find emails down here, or it should be also here on your navigation tab on the left. So we're going to hit open. We're going to head to emails. In this page, you'll see a lot of our past emails, and we actually have some great data here. 43% opens, 49% opens, etc. And we can see the number of recipients we sent it to, which also indicates our current active members. And so we're going to start off by creating an email, and we'll get to how to transform that into a newsletter a little later. So I'm going to go here to this top right part, and I'm going to hit compose email. And once we hit that, we'll be brought a selection screen will be brought up, which says select recipients. So one of the useful features of DHub is that we can actually tag members into different tabs, and so I have this tab called new right here. We're not going to focus too much on this, but it's good to have an understanding if you want to select specific members. For example, if you have new members and you want to target only the new members, or you have members that are only a specific type of member, for example, officers or just current members. But what we're going to focus on is here on the left in this members section. Now we can click all members, but I think best practice is to avoid sending the email to everyone and to go down here and select each of these individually. And so when I click on current officers, you'll see it kind of displays a drop-down menu of which officers it's sending the email to. Now, we don't want to send our email to the past officers. As you can see here, it says past. We want to send it only to our current officers. We also hit students. We see there's no additional grouping for students, so we're just going to hit accept on that. We also like to loop in our faculty, staff, which are our advisors, and other stakeholders who are staff or faculty of KBOW. So we're going to confirm this. So 20 officers, 136 students, which is all of our student members, and then 6 faculty and staff. And we're going to go down here. If you go down here, you'll see there is a compose email for selected groups button. That's what we're going to do to get to the next page. Remember, you can't click this button if you haven't selected any members. So even if you're doing a test email, you just go ahead and maybe select just a group of officers. And so we're going to hit compose email, and it's going to redirect us to a page where we have the option to do email composer, which is standard email form, or email builder. Now, typically, I found that email builder works the best generally, and it's great for formatting things, although there are some formatting difficulties that we'll probably come across when creating the newsletter. So we're going to hit email builder, and we're just going to get another pop-up that asks us to review the recipient list. Now we have 140 plus people on this list, so reviewing them individually is going to be tough, but here we see that it says this student does not wish to receive emails anymore, so they don't receive emails. So if you ever get one of our emails and you decide to unsubscribe for whatever reason, and we select you, the good news is you won't get our emails. So we love that we have a automatic way to avoid spam emails, or emails to people who don't want emails through DHub. But that's what this little red stop sign kind of indicates, is we're not going to be sending to uh, this individual. Now, we don't normally CC or BCC, so we're just going to go ahead and confirm this is our recipient list, select all, and we're going to head to setup. So as you can see down here, before we head to setup, there is essentially a sort of flowchart / navigation tab at the bottom. Now we want to keep this in mind because you can actually navigate any direction despite the direction of the arrows. So if I, for example, now we're going to head to setup, and I'll briefly head back to recipients just to show you. So this is the setup. All right, we've got to this page. We can still move back to this recipient page. And so we're going to continue on to the setup now. And so in the setup, we have a subject line. This is just typical email subject line. What we want from the subject line is we want it to be concise, and we want it to be a way to quickly summarize the key information or highlight of the email or newsletter that we're sending. And so for newsletters, if we type in, normally we label them as KBAO newsletter, and then we have some sort of addition towards the end, and we try to theme that by month. So if it's a certain awareness month, or if it's, for example, we had Earth Day that we chose to highlight, we try to do that. At the start of the quarter, we usually send out one newsletter that has the title including the season or the quarter that we're in at the moment. And so we have a spring edition, which signifies the start of the spring quarter. And so that's how we title or subject line our newsletters. And for other events, we would just title it the event name. And yep, that's how we would do it. Then we see another line that says from address. Now, you can choose any of the board members and officers from here to send it from, but I would advise against it. Please, when you're doing this step, try to use your group email, which is the radio option below here. And that group email address at the moment is kellstadtbao@gmail.com. And that's flexible, that's restricted to whatever we've set on the DHub page, and we plan to change that soon, but that should reflect where you're sending it from. And then we have introductions. Now, I love to add an introduction because it's a simple way to personalize an email and get people to feel like you really, are speaking to them rather than speaking to the group as a whole. And so I normally go for a high first name. Now, this always depends on what you're doing or what the purpose of the email is. For example, if it's a more formal email, we're probably going to use Dear. I like using high first name because it's somewhat casual, familiar, intimate, and we want to kind of build that analytics community here at Ball. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and we're just going to get a default subject line up. We're going to title it email and newsletter tutorial. And so there we have it, our subject line, where the email is actually coming from, and the introduction. Now, it's important to note that this system for emailing through DHub is actually a no reply email. So we're not going to get any emails back. Instead, people who want to respond to us will be redirected to this email that we have in this bracket. And as I mentioned, that's linked to what's signed up on our DHub. We can always change that if the need arises. But do keep in mind that any replies to our emails will be going to this email address. not to dhub, so you won't see any replies in the email profile or section within dhub. So with the recipients chosen and the setup complete, we're gonna navigate next to the template section. In the template section, we have a number of basic options on formatting a template, and some of these are great, but I would suggest, if you're starting off and you don't have anything too crazy in mind of a goal, just use the one column basic template. It has the least formatting problems if you decide to add more things. And I think that becomes really important in emails where you might be viewing an email on your computer device, you might be viewing it on your phone device. So yeah, use the basic template if you can. Now, we also do another thing for newsletters, which is we create drafts of our newsletters and save them as templates. And we do reuse drafts as well. So all of our newsletters kind of have, if you can see, uh, a newsletter one final draft, then we have a newsletter ALS, we have another board application newsletter template saved. So saving templates is a really great way to like reuse a format, but there is also not a lot of adaptability in reusing a newsletter. If you wanted to use the same format, that would be fine, but if you decide to change the format, things can get a little complicated. And so we're gonna get to that in a bit, but for start, we're just gonna create a basic template. And so the moment you click on a template of your choice, it's going to automatically take you to the design section of the email process. And in the design section, you're going to see some placeholder text, title, and then maybe an option for an image. Now, normally we include event banners here, and we'll get to more of that in our Canva tutorial. But this is how you would see the setup normally. And so if we wanted to go ahead and change the image, we would just click on this widget. So once we click on this, we would see on the right here, a little section to edit would pop up. And so what we're going to do is, for example, we're going to say upload, and we're going to hit that. And then we're going to navigate to Kbow. And once we navigate to Kbow, we are going to select, maybe a graphic asset, let's say. And so maybe we want our logo at the top. So once we select our logo, it's going to ask us to confirm all the color settings and all the other image settings that we have here. And we're just not going to make any changes here. These images are already pre-formatted, so we're going to click Save. And once we click Save, we're going to see it show up in here, but it's still not going to be showing up in here. So what we want to do is we want to hit Save again. But before we hit Save, what we can do is we can make this a clickable image. And so maybe perhaps we want to go to our website. Maybe we want to head to our website. Maybe we want to head to the case competition. Maybe we want to head to our homepage. And so we're going to bring that link here. We're going to paste that link here. And then you see another section saying image alt. This is where if someone is not rendering the image, for example, Outlook does not download images by default, you have to click on download image for emails. This is for privacy and security reasons. And so we could have an image alt that displays if they haven't downloaded the image. So we could maybe put something like Kbow logo. And so we're gonna hit save here, and we're gonna see it immediately pop up over here. Now sometimes this process takes a 20 to 30 seconds. if it's a big image file and it needs to load it in. Don't worry too much. If it really isn't working, hit edit image, you get edit widget again, head into the section and re-upload your image and resave it. And so now we have our org logo up there. You could put an event banner there too. You could do both, whatever aesthetically works better. And so then we're gonna head into the edit widget section. Now, normally this is the part where we simply have, you know, like a title, like we would have XYZ event. So we have the event name, and then we would simply put information about the event. And we would say maybe something like date and May 7th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And so once we have that, we can actually go ahead and bold this. So all those classic formatting options exist. And maybe we have some details about the event. Maybe we say this event is going to be a fun event. And so we'll normally just have basic event information here. Things like if we had a location, we would put that here as well. If it was virtual, we would also specify that here. And we're not gonna dive into this in too much detail, but once we have that on here, you know, and you save it, you can see how it actually reflects. Now, note that we did bold this section, but it isn't showing up as bold here. Sometimes what dhub does is it doesn't actually show you the bold text in your while editing process. You have to get to the end and preview the email to actually see all the bold or different formatting appear. And so another kind of step in you know, like sending out an event email that is vital is getting our link out there. And so we could definitely add a link in here, and we go here and we could say maybe we want to add a link, and so maybe we'll add a link to our website, and then we'll write sign up here. And so this is the link input pop-up box, fairly simple. You just type your link out, put display text on, and click OK. And now we've got a clickable link here. But dhub actually has a better feature for creating a link for your event. And so we're gonna look at, we see this like template of different insertable widgets for dhub. And some of them are great. They've got different formatting, they're like different styles, and we can use these. And so what we're gonna do to create a register button or a sign up button is they have buttons down here in the templates, right? And so we're just gonna click on this and we're gonna drag it. And you see as we're dragging it, there is a black box around all the different sections of our email. We're gonna place it here, and the moment I put it close enough, it's gonna kind of align with the other boxes, and so I can move it incrementally to kind of like switch around the positions of different sections. Now we obviously want the register button to be below the email content, but we also don't want it too far down. So we're gonna put it here just below. And so the default says button. Maybe you want to customize that and say register. And here we have a option for a link URL. We're just going to use the same link to our website for sample purposes. We're not going to, you know, play around with that too much. And you can also specify the color of the text, so the font color. So say I wanted it black, Actually, that wouldn't be a great font. Let's not use black. Say I wanted the text to be um, maybe a lighter color. I say yellow. And then I wanted maybe the background color, which we can also specify here, to be, dark gray. Not a great design choice, ideally, but it looks okay. So in that sense, we can kind of customize, we can change the color around and play with it. And another useful tool is to look at revision history. We don't have any revision history for this particular one, uh, but if I went into this, I could look at, I guess it's not working at this point. I think you need a more significant amount of information to look at that, but we're gonna move on to normally a standard part of the process when we create an email for any purpose is our social links. We always try to include them. Um, I don't know how many people actually use them because we don't get information on that. But from a professionalism perspective, it just looks better. So let me actually go back and show you that. I'm gonna delete this section really quickly and then go back and add it again. So we have this space here called social links. All right. And so here we can add a social link, and we want to add that below our register button. Um, and we see the widget editing option, and so it says there's a space for text, and it says select social links. So we're not going to bother with the text or the body part. We're just going to go ahead and select social links. And since our D-Hub is already connected to our LinkedIn and our Instagram, we can actually just click to select our LinkedIn profile right here, and we can go ahead and click to select our Instagram. And once they're selected, to actually add them to the editing box, we're gonna go here and select insert selected social links. Now, once that's done, we're gonna hit save, and we're gonna see this pop up. So that's kind of a basic format for an event email, for example. I'm just gonna go really quickly through this in the interest of time. Um, we're gonna take a newsletter template, and we're gonna play around with it. Let's take this one. So instead of what we had before, we are here with a brand new page with our email template for our newsletter, our Earth Edition newsletter. And so within this newsletter, we've custom designed our logo to kind of reflect the theme, and we put a great deal of thought into what goes into our newsletter. We have a introduction to help our members understand what this week's newsletter is going to be themed or going to be covered or covering, and we also have another section for our featured opportunities. And so in the featured section, we normally include things like volunteer work, projects that students can take on, mentoring opportunities, everything that isn't a job and isn't an event either. And we feature these opportunities because we find that in a lot of students that come to KBAU and that are members find themselves looking for or looking to take on work and projects outside of the classroom. And we find this to be a super beneficial way to kind of bring opportunity to our community and help them build their profiles while doing good things at the same time. And so in this week's newsletter, it covered Impact Consulting, which is a volunteer consulting organization that allows people to get involved in consulting opportunities for nonprofits, social enterprises, and startups, and help them solve important problems. And once we get through the featured section, we go down to events. And we have uh, our events, and then we have other events. So a lot of times in this newsletter, we didn't have any job opportunities posted, but we definitely anticipate some. And so we're gonna have employers, who have gotten in touch with us, post their job opportunities as part of our newsletter. And so this is an example of a one-dimensional newsletter in a sense, where we're using only one column for most of the newsletter. Now, this is the easiest way to do the newsletter, and maybe sometimes not the best way to display multiple different items closer to the top of an email. We see, people sometimes don't have the attention, or aren't focused enough on our newsletters to actually scroll down and look at opportunities all the way at the bottom. And so some other formats we might want to highlight this. And so I'm going to head back to templates, and we're going to choose a template that has, maybe some different elements to it, some different organization to it. We're going to look at this newsletter. So we have our banner up here, and we have our intro here. Now, this is just a sample. We don't, normally we would include a featured section, but in this one we have other events, job opportunities, upcoming events, and they're all somewhat visible without actually having to scroll down. So if people see a banner of an employer that they're interested in, that might motivate them to value the newsletter more and look at that. So that's the gist. Now you might be thinking, and this is something I haven't covered yet, but why in this panel of widgets are there two of the exact same things? And to answer your question, I don't actually know that myself, but they're both the same in function and form, and I haven't been able to identify any significant differences, so I think you're safe regardless of which one you choose. And now we're gonna just really quickly move on to the next section. And again, if you have any questions and you think someone in KBOW might know, reach out to your fellow board members, or feel free to reach out to me. I will have my socials or my LinkedIn or something posted for you guys to reach out. And so we're gonna move on to the click boxes. In the click box, we have essentially option to include surveys, forums, etc., and events to our newsletter. Now, the events section is difficult because we never post our events on DHub. DHub system is through DePaul and has a lot of accounting requirements for financials to even create an event. So we avoid that completely. But what we do use is we do create surveys, we do create forms that we link in the newsletter. And this might look like, for example, if I chose to include this. Now, it won't show in the design per se, right? It won't show in the design section. But if I've chosen to include it, right, and we have a lot, we could also go down here and include profiles. And include checklists for members to complete. Really interesting. I haven't had the opportunity to get to use any of these, but very interesting tools. Now, suppose we've selected the KBOW involvement form, and we want to see how that's reflected. We're going to hit delivery. So after clickbox, we click delivery. And we're going to head here. And in this section, we can kind of like schedule when the email should be sent out, display default email footer. I'll get to show you that in a second when we preview it, and the other options only display unsubscribe link in footer. So we're just going to go with display default email footer, and I'm going to come back to show you essentially using this preview here where it says preview first. I'm going to show you how that survey looks that we've included, the KBA involvement survey, and how our footer looks. So we're going to go and say preview first, right? And so we've got this top section, which we specified initially in the initial section over here in the setup, which is hi first name. And so in our delivery, or rather in our preview, we see hi first name, and then the email begins. And if we scroll down all the way to the bottom, we see our form is included here, and it says complete the form. Now that form links you to another page on DHub, right? And that's where our actual form is located. Now, if we want to click any of the links, that'll immediately take us to whatever page that we link to. So this is how the form looks. People can choose to use it. This is our default footer. It has our name, it has our university, it has a respond to email, and it has a unsubscribe link at the bottom. So that's the kind of outline of how to kind of go about these steps. And we're just gonna close out of this and get into a little details. So you can send yourself a test email before you actually send the emails out, and I use this a lot. I tend to send myself test emails multiple times every time I make like a small edit to make sure, you know, like it's compatible on the phone, it's also compatible on the computer, because we want everyone to be able to view the information in the way it's intended to be. And so if you send yourself a test email, you can actually see the email. Now I'm not gonna get into that, but you can actually see the email show up as a test email just to yourself. And the email address that it sends it to is the one that you have connected to DHub. So if you've logged in from your default email, it will send it to your default email. Now, schedule email delivery date, super useful feature. We can plan ahead and set a schedule time. If we know responsiveness is best in the evening, you know, we can set a schedule to kind of send it out at that time. And so let's say we want to send it in on the 9th of May, and we want to send it, you know, now this is a 24-hour clock, so it's important to be careful not to mistake it for a 12-hour clock. When we see 14 here, it's 2 p.m. So say we want to do 6 p.m., that's 18. We just hit 18, and then we hit 00, and then we hit save and send. Now I'm not going to send this because that's actually going to go out as an email, but we can also do save as draft. I don't do this a whole lot, but you can, and you can choose to send it out later. Now, instead of sending this out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to emails and kind of cover the other, you know, different sections within the email category. We have over here on the left nav bar, sent, scheduled, drafts, mailing list, templates, emails tracking, delivery status, and unsubscribed. All super useful. If we have a scheduled email, it will show up in the scheduled section. We have a lot of drafts. Now drafts are automatic. You don't necessarily need to save all your drafts. I don't really know what the exact criteria for a draft being logged is, but almost all of our emails have had drafts saved regardless of whether we've sent them or not. And mailing list, we have nothing there. I am not completely sure what this section is, but then we move on to templates, and we have our basic templates. Now, the same way we initially chose email builder as how we want to create an email, in this section we can look at templates that are both classic email templates as well as email builder templates. Now, in our classic email template, we have a welcome email that we saved as a template that we send out to everyone who kind of joins. We also, if we click on email builder up here in the top right, we can head there and see all our templates for email builder. And so we can edit this stuff, we can go in and delete it. And so I think that's a pretty useful feature. move on to email tracking, and there you see everyone's details over their past email receiving, which is super useful for us as analytics students, and we can do some really great things with this. So that's delivery status. We get information about our emails. And so that's pretty much it for our email section. We covered emails and newsletters. Just wanted to say thanks to uh, everyone for like staying with me till the end, and yeah, hope you learned something that you could immediately make use of in KBOW. Thank you.